As this is a streaming webcast, this is the best way to communicate with the presenter and moderator. As you can see, if you run into issues, please select the appropriate item from the drop-down, and the moderator will reach out to assist you as soon as possible. Next, we'll look at the Q&A feature. We definitely encourage questions throughout the presentation. You would simply click into Q&A, located in the upper left toolbar, type your question, and click the Ask button. The questions go to the presenter and moderator, and please note all questions are held until the end of the webcast. The last item we wanted to talk about was voice and video, also located in the upper left toolbar. Sometimes in a streaming webcast environment, the audio will drop. In order to correct the situation, click Voice and Video. You will see this red error message. You would click the X to get out of the error message, and then click Join Audio. As you are reconnected back to the webcast, you will be able to once again see and hear the presentation. We look forward to your participation in the upcoming webcast, and thank you.
Thank you all for joining us for today's webcast, Bring Stores Together to Create a Better Bottom Line with Neudesic StoreSync, presented by Todd Sussman. My name is Amy Nelson, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for Neudesic and the moderator for today's webcast. This webcast is presented by Todd Sussman, Neudesic's Technical Director of Retail and Hospitality. We are very excited to have him present for us this morning. If you are logged on, you should all be able to see the title slide that states Neudesic. There was a brief intro earlier regarding features within live meetings. To briefly recap, we encourage you to ask questions throughout the session by typing them in. To ask a question, click on the Q&A verbiage located in the toolbar on the top left side of your screen. Type your question, then click the Ask button. Please note that all questions will be held until the end. We will also be using the seating chart featured within live meeting. Changing your feedback color within this tool provides feedback to the presenter. To provide feedback, click on the feedback menu found in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Select your feedback color. Your seat in the conference center will display your selected color. Lastly, this webcast is being recorded and will be available via the Neudesic website. We will email you when the link is available. If everyone is ready, please make sure your seat color is green. At this time, I'd like to turn our presentation over to Todd.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this webcast on StoreSync. I'd like to give you a brief background about Neudesic. Neudesic was founded in 2001 by 3 former Microsoft executives. Since then, we started in Irvine, California, and have grown to 15 offices nationwide. And one of the more important things to note is that we are one of a few Microsoft National Systems Integrators and a Gold Certified Partner with Microsoft. Basically, we're able to achieve that status by developing a proven track record of providing reliable and effective solutions based on that Microsoft stack. And Neudesic consultants that help develop the solution and implement it are recognized throughout our industry for insight and leading-edge technical know-how. So let's jump right into why it is that Neudesic decided to create a StoreSync solution and what are the retail challenges that we hear in the marketplace. First and foremost, in today's marketplace, we see a big emphasis on changing workforces. People are working shorter amounts of time for a retailer. Typically, it's a younger workforce that are looking for summer jobs, working during vacations, or just trying to find a job while they look for something within their chosen career. So what we found is that it's really important to have easy-to-use systems, intuitive interfaces, and reduce training time while improving operational compliance within an enterprise. With uncertain times ahead, cost-cutting is a natural reaction. Sales are expected to stay the same, so everyone is being given a directive to increase sales without increasing the cost of operating a store. It's more important than ever to maximize customer visits and improve that shopping experience. Customer retention and new customer acquisition is imperative to survival and growth. Online guides are growing, and even more during a tough economy. So multi-channel shoppers are growing and becoming more savvy. Customers today need to have more information and technology tend to have more information and technology than the retailers. The good news is customers still like to interact with people and products, and brick-and-mortar sales are not going anywhere soon. So what are we trying to address with the StoreSync solution? In front now we see a slide that talks about the various complexities around managing stores from a corporate perspective. Retail management systems and point of sales are still king in the center of everything, but there's a lot of focus on workforce management, task management, pricing optimization, various analytics, and of course the introduction of mobile applications and loss prevention being a big one as well. Phase 1 of the StoreSync implementation attempts to address workforce management, task management, and the introduction to retail analytics with predictive analytics, mobile applications, and loss prevention following in the winter of 2011. So what are some of the basics about StoreSync? StoreSync lives inside SharePoint 2010. This gives you a natural progression to Office 365 if that's something you desire. It's being built in multiple phases. As we mentioned, last month we launched Phase 1, focusing on workforce management, task management, and retail analytics. Phase 2 will include more analytics as well as predictive analytics for trending and sales projections. Integration of social networking. Pulse is a product that Neudesic has developed that allows social media within the enterprise. And mobile functionality, which is very important. But I do want to stress that StoreSync is a solution and not a product. And what the difference between that is we don't believe that we have 100% of all needs covered out of the box. We had aimed to address 60% of your needs, with the additional 40% being customization and a partnership between us and yourself. So what is workforce and task management from our perspective? So retail stores are typically using email or fax in order to transmit information from corporate headquarters down to the individual stores. Store managers then are forced to photocopy or verbally assign tasks and distribute them to the people within their store. And this creates some serious problems. It's a very inconsistent process. It is all up to the individual to decide how they want to implement it. And more importantly, there's no direct accountability, no way to track or report on metrics as far as compliance is concerned. This leads to reduced productivity, especially from employees and managers. And because of the fact that there is no consistent plan in place, it's difficult to implement. And from a company-wide perspective, there is no coherency. So what business needs do we hope to address? Employees find that structure is a good thing. If you know what is expected of you, when it is expected of you, it's easier to plan your day and make sure that you have sufficient time to accomplish all of your goals. From a management perspective, being able to reassign tasks to other employees is extremely important and needs to be able to be accomplished in an easy and clear manner. Corporate management wants automated solutions. They want to look to have a streamlined and coherent event and task management process and a framework that makes the ability to implement this process company-wide, quick and easy, and of course, visibility into this process status across all of the various stores, be it by region or individual stores. So with that, I'm going to jump into a quick demo that we have put together around task management. So to start with, we're kind of going to talk about some of the pre-configuration that would take place during an initial implementation. So we have the ability to define regions, such as you see in front of you, East, Midwest, and West. And once we have a region defined, once we create stores, we're able to assign them to regions. And when we get into the actual task and event management, you'll see how we have flexibility in choosing who to publish events to. Larger department stores also have various departments, and not every store is going to include every department. So we have the ability to create a master list of all of the departments that your corporation might include. So again, when we define a store, we can pick and choose which departments that particular store has, and the ability to assign events and tasks only to stores with particular departments. So now we get into the idea of creating a store, and I thought I would actually go into a little bit of detail on this and actually create a store with you today. So when we need to create a new store, we simply click on Add a New Item, create a store ID, whatever that naming convention might be. We're going to create store number 5 since we already have 4 created, and we are going to assign this to a manager. So in this particular case, it's store number 5 is the manager's name. And we are going to assign that to the East Coast region. And we are going to assign all departments to that particular store. If I wanted to, I could have simply only assigned bed and bath or bed and bath and kids, etc. We'll save it. And we can now see that we have a store number 5 in Boston, Massachusetts, assigned to the East Coast region. So with regions, departments, and stores defined, we can jump into actual task management. So when we create a new task, it could be something as simple as setting up a new display. It's a high priority. This is an end cap display. We want it to be completed as quickly as possible. It's initially assigned to myself since I'm the creator. So we put a description of the task in. I expect to have this completed for opening on Monday morning, so the due date would be Sunday the 10th, and I save it. This creates a master task list. The next step in the process is to decide who has to implement this particular task. So we have our choices. We can assign it by region, we can assign it by departments, by stores, or individual store managers. In this particular case, I'm going to assign this new end cap to all regions in our enterprise. I'm going to save that off. We can see that a new task was created for us, and if I actually click on this task, I get a list of all the stores that this task was created for, as well as a quick and easy place that I can see the completion percentage if I want to be able to track it. Really quick, we're going to create one more task, and this is setting up a new Red Sox display. Obviously, this here would be more prevalent to stores in New England. I'm going to go ahead and save that off. In this particular case, I'm going to pick specific regions or stores that I can assign this to. So I'm going to go to stores, and I know that store number 1 and store number 5 are both in the Boston area, so I'm going to assign it to those stores. Click Save. Oh. Again, completion date. Now if I click on it, I would expect, so that didn't quite work the way we expected it to, but normally it would have only shown stores 1 and 5 have received that particular task. The other thing that we have the ability to do is announcements. So announcements might be something like a new store was opened. Works very much the same as assigning a task. We create our title, new store in Boston. We want that notice to go out for a couple of weeks. We hit save, and it asks us to assign it to them. So we've assigned it to all regions, and exactly as before, we can click on the task, and we can see all the stores we're assigned that task. There's also the concept of events. So an event would be something like a family picnic, for example. So we are going to create a family picnic event. We're going to assign it to the corporate offices. It would be on Sunday the 10th, and make it an all-day event. We have, lots of opportunities to customize this as your needs require. We can save it. Again, all regions, and we can see them everywhere. There is another type of event that we support, which is a corporate-wide event. So one of the things you'll notice is when I created this event here, I actually explicitly said which regions, stores, departments, etc. I want to assign it to. But if I go into a corporate calendar and I create an event, so we're going to go ahead and create a corporate event on the 8th. And how did that happen? So I put in store manager meeting. Live meeting, we want to do it on the 8th. And it's just a 1-hour meeting. The biggest difference here is that when I save it, I'm never asked who do I want to assign it to. Anything done at that corporate level automatically is given to all stores in the corporation. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and quickly sign in as a different user, and I'm going to impersonate store number 1. And one of the first things we should notice is that on the browsing bar, I only have the ability to see store announcements as opposed to corporate announcements. So if I click on tasks, I can see the 2 new tasks that were assigned to me. I have the ability to go into one of my tasks. And now, as a store manager, I can come in here and edit my item and basically mark it as 100% complete, change its status to completed, and save it. And now, when someone from corporate wants to do a check on who's implemented a particular task, they will get that update as well. I can see all of the announcements for my particular store. I've been informed a new store opens. I can now inform my employees to make sure that they get that out. From my calendar, we can see that I have color-coded events. So here was the corporate event that we had created in pink. Here are tasks that were assigned to my store. And here is a corporate event that we had also created using the eventing system as opposed to the corporate calendar. With that, I'm going to jump back into my corporate view. And in my corporate view, if I were to click on the Red Sox display, we can see that store number 1 has changed his status to complete, and it's 100% complete. One of the other things that a corporate user has the ability to leverage that stores don't right now is business analytics. So if we click on Retail Analytics, using Performance Point Server, we can bring up a dashboard with different types of measurements available to us. On the bottom, as we waited for it to finish loading, is a scorecard. This is going to show trending, whether it be up or down or static, for the various stores and various departments within those stores. So if we look at Sharon, Massachusetts, we can see that, bed and bath sales have been reduced, and for a period of time, others have stayed flat. And quickly and easily, I can start looking at the health of the various stores within my environment. Some of the other options we have is if you look on the right-hand side, the pie chart, it's breaking down gross margin for the corporation at the various department level. But if I pick rooms and ideas, I have the ability to actually start drilling into that much deeper. And now I can start looking at it and saying, I would like to understand, by the store level and by region, how I accumulated $21 million in revenue. And I can see that the East region generated $9.5 million. And if I want, I can go a little deeper into that and look at unit location, and I can see Sharon generated $5.1 million, Cherry Hill, New Jersey generated $4.5 million. So quickly and easily, I can start understanding how the information being presented to me was generated from a corporate-wide perspective. On the other side, I have the ability to, select my measures and just look at the information differently depending on what it is that I'm hoping to achieve, and I can do it quickly and easily with right mouse clicks. So basically, the information that you see in front of you is your real business data moved into a data warehouse that the dashboard in front of you has been designed to consume. So quickly and easily, we can take data from whatever rational data store you have and move it into a data warehouse. So hopping back into the presentation. So what are the key benefits that we hope you guys can take away from that quick demo? The first and most important is a consistent process for managing tasks and events. By implementing this framework, it makes it a very efficient process as far as how we push that down to stores. Status collection is the same for each event, whether it's a task, an announcement, or an event. And it's also very important to understand who is reacting to the jobs assigned to them. And last and not least important is key retail metrics and performance indicators. You're going to start seeing trending information quickly, who's generating revenue where and how, and this allows you to react more quickly to improve businesses. Enhance productivity. So once again, a single interface for managing events and tasks and eliminating that multiple processes that used to happen in the past. Access to relevant information, and this goes beyond just tasks and events. If you have training manuals that you keep updating, the ability to store and archive them in a single location and have them pushed out store-wide immediately is something as well that this brings. Organized information, at the end of the day, that reduces management overhead costs because you now are able to do your job quicker and more efficiently, and enhance communication. So the ability to monitor individuals, store managers, district managers, store performances from a single screen is an added benefit. So where does Neudesic and StoreSync add value? We have asked people to sit and ask themselves whether or not the communication between corporate and stores and their workforce is effective, as well as tools to optimize workforce and task management. The corporation is able to communicate quickly and effectively with individual stores as well as regions. And if you answered no to any of those questions, then this is an opportunity for us to meet and determine what part of our solution adds value to your organization and where we can help fill those gaps. So at this point, we're going to open the floor to any questions.
Hey, Todd. Thank you for the great presentation. We did have a few questions come in. The first one, any thoughts to tie into the MMS, so info like stores, regions, districts do not have to maintain in more than one location?
Yes. So the solution only hits about 60% of our intended goal. And the fact that we do have a full integration suite at Neudesic, we have absolutely no problem being able to, guarantee we'll work with all of the different retailers.
Great, thanks. And then a question that did come in. In your solution roadmap slide, you mentioned social media support. How do social media play with StoreSync?
That's an excellent question also. So when we talk about social media, we are talking specifically at this time about a product that Neudesic had created called Pulse. During this demo, one of the things that we showed was the ability to go from corporate down to the store level. And through the use of social media, we hope to close the feedback loop. This gives store managers and employees the ability to quickly push information back to corporate about the effectiveness of promotions, etc. And the reason why we chose to go the route of social media as opposed to the current process of email is that when you talk about email, specific people have to be included in the conversation, as opposed to using something like social media where people can subscribe to information that they're interested in. More importantly, though, is that once an email thread finishes, it's usually archived and lost, and no one can gain from the information that has been gathered during that conversation. Through the use of Pulse integrated into a SharePoint solution, what we do is we aim to create an archived knowledge base where that conversation persists long after the conversation is completed and potentially long after the employees who participate in that conversation are gone. And this gives you an archivable and searchable knowledge base that you could use far into the future.
Perfect. Another question that did just come in. My concern is speed. How big are the pages being served to the client? What is your recommended connection speed?
So when it comes to speed, we've gone with a simplicity in design to make sure that we are quickly able to deliver information, especially down at the store levels. There are more complex pages, such as the retail analytics, but those are really designed for specific individuals. So, the slowest of internet connections from a corporation to a store should be able to easily handle the load, and then people who need more information, especially when it gets to predictive analytics and retail analytics, they might need a slightly faster connection, but not much.
Perfect, thank you. The next question that I have is, what is involved in deploying StoreSync?
So StoreSync is a solution built on top of SharePoint and SQL Server 2008 R2. So primarily behind it is just deciding hardware, reliability needs specifically around those two products, and then the solution plugs in on top of that and is part of the SharePoint platform.
Great. Next question. Dealing with retail analytics, what are the data sources for StoreSync?
So the retail analytics and in the future the predictive analytics are being retrieved through a data warehouse that was designed by Neudesic, but it would be as simple as an integration into pretty much any rational data store, whether it be DB2, Oracle, or other SQL data stores, and being able to cleanse that information as we put it into the data warehouse.
Great, thank you. The next question. How open are you to work with a retailer to extend and expand your solution for future releases?
retailers to understand what their needs are and to help implement and shape the future of the product in conjunction with any customer that is willing to work.
Great, and I did just have another question come through. I need to push data like video to my clients as a part of a scheduled task. Is there a good way of doing this? Do you support this?
I'm sorry?
I need to push data like video to my clients as part of a scheduled task. Is there a good way of doing this? Do you support this?
Yep. So that's a conversation we can probably have offline, but we are doing it today, and we'd like to understand better what it is that you're hoping to achieve.
Great. And then the last question I do have up here, what are the deployment options available?
That's an excellent question also. So having been built on top of the SharePoint 2010 platform, we have a variety of different options available. Obviously, if you are willing to host your own hardware and you have your own data center, we can be deployed on-prem. If you prefer hosted data centers that are off-site, both Neudesic offers those services as well as, lots of data centers around the world. And being SharePoint 2010, this opens up the option of using something like Office 365 and allowing Microsoft to own and manage the environment and treating it more like software as a service.
Great, thank you. And as a reminder, if anyone has any more questions, please feel free to type them in at this time. In the meantime, I'm going to click through a few polling questions, and we would really appreciate your feedback. First question, was this content helpful for your business? Yes or no? All right, thank you. And the next polling question, please rate the presentation content, excellent, good, or poor. And the last question I have, would you like us to schedule a follow-up? Yes or no? All right, thank you, everyone. We will be forwarding the link to view a recording of this webcast once it becomes available. Again, thank you so much for everyone for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on our next webcast. You are now free to disconnect. Thank you.